Hey guys, welcome back to the Better Project. This episode we got Joel Walsh. How's it going?
Hey mate, how's it going? Pleasure to be here.
Good mate. Thanks for reaching out and wanting to come on.
I appreciate it, mate. I've been watching from afar for a while now, and I thought, it'd be a pleasure to come on and hopefully dribble off the cuff here and provide some quality for your listeners.
How long you been listening for?
Pretty much since the start, since the get-go. I was particularly interested in the Jordan Cahoon episode.
Yeah.
Took a lot out of that, and I feel like he had a lot to offer, and I really resonated with a fair few of the things he said, so that was good.
Did you listen to the Isaac John one?
I did,
Fuck, I was nervous on that one, eh?
Mate, the big dogs are in.
Yeah, I got that one probably way too soon in my podcast kind of career. But, you know, on the back of that, my confidence is just shot through the roof after that. So I'm grateful, man.
That's it. Sometimes you got to walk the tightrope and learn the hard way.
Yeah, exactly.
And putting yourself out there, you're doing a great job already. So I think continue on and you're only going to get bigger and better, man.
So take me back to a young Joel, what was your upbringing like?
Pretty stock standard, I think. I mean, I grew up here. I'm just like local to the Lower Blue Mountains. Just grew up in Emu Plains. I moved away for a few years in Perth. That was just through a family thing. My dad had a job opportunity there.
Yep.
So I spent a few years over in WA.
What was that like?
A lot different to here.
Yeah.
A lot different to here. That's where I kind of was forcibly pushed into playing AFL because that's all they have over there in the area that I was living in.
Yep.
But I look back on it fondly. I mean, not a lot of people get to say they live like their backyard's the beach and the water's their backyard. So I look back on that really fondly. But in the same sense, I was pretty keen to come back. And then, I finished off primary school and moved into high school just local in Penrith,
Yeah, you went to Doms, eh?
Yeah, I went to St Dom's. I went to Hills for a little bit as well.
Yep.
And then went back to St Dom's and finished off there.
Were you in the same year as Cleary?
Yeah, that was our grade 2015. Yeah.
Were you mates with Troy Hassan?
Yes, I remember him. I do remember him. Yeah, he's a good lad.
Yeah, I was mates with him. So he did the FC11 course I did.
Okay. Small world, hey.
Yeah,
I think the 6 degrees of separation theory that they've got, I think it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Exactly.
Every day you connect the dots and it's crazy.
So what was school like?
I love school. Personally, I was probably one of those weirdos that kind of reflects back on their schooling days and either misses it or just it puts a smile on my face. Like I never really had any issues. Sport was kind of the focal point. I wasn't a grade A student, but I also wasn't slumming it.
Yeah.
I gave it a crack and did what I had to do. But school for me was just playing with my mates, playing whatever we could, whenever we could. Thinking we were cool, rolling our sleeves up, whatever the trend was at the time, power bands, I don't know. But I look back on it very, very fondly.
And once you finished school, what did you do?
So I had a few options. I was playing AFL at the time, and that was where I thought at the time where I was headed. So the option was given to me to either just work full time and then train full time, or I had to go and study. So I decided to go and study because I'm probably a bit lazy. Didn't want to go and work. And purely out of just luck, I kind of said, I'll go give physiotherapy a crack because I'd always had a kind of an admiration for them. Like they always looked after me, and I spent a fair bit of time in the rehab room throughout my high school years. So
what injuries did you have?
So I tore my rotator cuff, cracked my patella. Yeah, a few of the bigger ones, but they teach you a lot.
Did you ever do your groin?
No, I haven't actually.
Bro, that's the worst injury. I've done that. I had to get cortisone injections down there. You don't want to get that.
Oh, no thanks. No thanks. I'll take shoulders and knees anyway.
Yeah, same. You can't even walk with that shit, man. It's so bad.
But so I did that for a little while, and I found out pretty quickly that bad decisions catch up with you. Yeah. And due to me really rushing that decision, I think I lasted close to a month, and just before the deferment date, pulled the pin and went and worked full time because, back to school wasn't working for me.
Yep. So what'd you do for work?
I was working at a leisure centre, so I was working as a swim coach and as a kids fitness coach at, I don't know if you remember, it's called Flip Out.
Yeah.
I used to run the kids classes there, the kids fit classes.
Yep.
And that then led me into my next job, which was in disability care and aged care. So I really, really, really enjoyed that.
How did you find yourself, getting into the disability sector? Was that always something you kind of wanted to do, or?
I think subconsciously, yes, but that potential wasn't really unlocked until the opportunity arose, which was someone offering me a job out in the Shire. So to begin with, I was quite nervous, but I have quite a close relationship with that field, given my family history and members of my family. So I may already have had enough experience to kind of go in there and do a good enough job to make an impact. So honestly,
you have family members with disabilities?
Yeah, numerous. So it's always been something that's quite prominent in my life.
Yep.
But it was never looked upon as a job or anything like that. It was just a precaution or a measure that you had to take with your family. So I never looked at it like a burden or anything like that. And then when the job arose, it was, well, I've already been doing this for 19 years at the time.
Just came natural.
Yeah, and I jumped head first, and I landed on my feet luckily, and away I went for a couple of years there.
What was it like, working with, disability people, great feeling?
I haven't ever felt a greater sense of gratification in my life. The things that they teach you is incredible, and it's a very eye-opening experience. And I don't think I've ever met a more resilient bunch of people in my life. The ongoing battles they have day to day may seem minute to us in terms of just daily living, like tying shoes, personal care, etc. But they are huge tasks to them, and any of those people that can get over those things and live a quite fulfilled life, I think it's admirable. So, that was kind of my experience there, and I took so much from it, and that's also what's led me into what I do now.
Yeah.
So it's been.
So
really
what
good.
did that role entail? Like just helping them in the basic stuff, or you take them to places, or?
Oh, it depend on the area you were working in.
Yep.
So it can be from little things like personal care, palliative care within the home, but then it can go to day programs where we try and bridge the gap between a person living with a disability and integrating them into society.
Yep.
So you give them as much autonomy over their life as possible by allowing them to choose A, what they'd like to do, and B, when they'd like to do it. So your role could be as small as being their driver for the day and taking them, let's just say fishing, and then go for lunch at Bondi Beach.
Yep.
You know what I mean? To you and I, we can do that Monday through Sunday, but for them, given the hurdles they have to overcome, it's not as easy as that. So that could be a role. As I said, touched on before, it could be within the home. So that client could be particularly home ridden by that time of their life, unfortunately. So you're there to A, tend to all their needs, B, cook, clean, etc. And then C, also can provide a companionship, because I know now the hard way that how much social interaction actually matters and means to people. So that was kind of in a broader sense what you could have and what I did.
Yeah, that's awesome. But let's take a step back into your AFL career. So what the dream was, the AFL?
I think so. Hindsight's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I think I look back on it and I wanted it, but never wanted it. I had opportunities there to do things, and unfortunately, maybe being a bit ignorant and then a bit arrogant as well, I just made other decisions, and it kind of fell down the priority ladder. And as a result, it never panned out as smoothly as I liked it to. So, poor decisions. And then I think, unfortunately, a lack of self-discipline at that point in my life, it didn't work out, and then I ended up getting the flick. So I moved on from that stage eventually, and now I just watch on TV with a Carlton Dry in my hand. Yeah,
and the highest grade, is it reserve grade that you play?
Yeah.
Did you play or just train?
No, I played.
Yep.
So their version is NEFL.
Yep.
So it's equivalent to the New South Wales Cup, stuff like that. And I played in development squads and stuff like that, like the little things.
And that was with the Giants?
Yeah. That was never, didn't get to rough it with the big dogs, but it was definitely training at a full-time capacity and at a level that it was pretty full on. It was pretty full on for a while there. And I look back on it fondly, and I learned a lot. At the time, I couldn't quite deal with it. And I always thought, why me? I always looked down, wanted people to give me some self-pity, pity, this poor bloke, he didn't quite make it. But it was now 4 years later, the onus was entirely on me, and I made poor decisions and clearly didn't want it enough. But I'm glad that it happened, because it's now pushed me into the position that I am today, and it's taught me a lot of things about myself.
What was the biggest lesson you learned from that whole experience? Just working hard, you need to work hard?
I think, hard work, and then you really need to have a strong sense of resilience.
Yeah.
I think if you want to do anything in life, you can't expect to just smooth sailing. There's always going to be choppy seas and things like that arise. and it's your ability to like, stand tall in the face of adversity.
Yeah.
Like I'm not Wikipedia, but that is the definition of resilience. And your ability to overcome those things. And that comes from that drive, the reason why you do things. If you don't have that drive and that why and that motivation, then you'll face a lot of hurdles that you can't overcome. And that's what happened to me. I couldn't get over the wall there.
Any regrets, especially seeing boys that you've trained with now kind of go on to play first grade, like my mate Jeremy Finlayson?
Oh, what a man. I wouldn't say regrets, because I don't like to live that way anymore, looking at my glass half empty, because it's still done a lot for me today. It was always a stepping stone, but I guess, I wish, obviously, in hindsight, I wish I could go back and put myself now in those boots, and I think things would pan out entirely different. But then saying that, I wouldn't be where I am today in these shoes, in these vans, in your studio, having a bit of a chat. So I couldn't say I regret it, but if I could, maybe I would have changed a few things along the way.
Have you had any thoughts of going back? Like, you're still young, you still could make a shot at it if you wanted to. That's
been an ongoing arm wrestle for probably about 18 months. I've had various chats. I've had people reach out to me, ask me to come back. But unfortunately, I just don't have the time or the physical capacity right now to do it. I've got my life's a bit of a juggling act, a good juggling act. Of course, I'm very grateful for what I can do and what I do. But again, the drive doesn't match the opportunity. So there's opportunities there to go back and play at a somewhat competitive level, but I just don't want it as bad as I want to. As I said, I prefer to watch guys like Jeremy Finlayson from afar, with the Carlton drama, hand with your mates. So that's where I'm at now.
That's fair enough. At the end of the day, you're still young. 12 months down the track, you could decide to go back. Who knows?
Yeah, and I've always been optimistic. I try and that's kind of my backbone right now, always remaining optimistic and trying to look at the brighter side of things rather than the ifs and the whatever. So you never say never. I wouldn't mind going and having a run at park footy one day, but right now I can't quite commit to that, and I'm very content with what I'm doing in my life.
And how old were you when you were in that whole environment?
That was from 17 to like 19 and a half.
Yeah, so you're still young, finding yourself, what you want to do. Yeah,
definitely. And then like the whole growing up thing, that scene, this social environment that you are in, or that I was in, with like girlfriends and going out. And as I said, the football stuff kind of slid down the priority ladder pretty quickly, and I never quite recovered from it or was able to pick it back up where it needed to be.
So you worked in the disability for how many years?
Close to 2.
And then after that, what'd you do?
So I decided to go back to uni, back to school, for the second time, but in a much more healthy frame of mind, in terms of had a lot more clarity around what I wanted to do and why I wanted to do it. And I've decided to pursue, I want to become a special needs teacher. So I want to be a primary school teacher, specifically catering for kids with special needs. So that's where I kind of joined the two together, because I'd always kind of enjoyed a leadership style role. I'm always vocal in sport. I'm always the friend that kind of directs the situations or makes the plans. I admire people in leadership positions, like principals, like politicians. It's a hard job to have, and a tough seat to sit in. So, and then I obviously had that drive to make change in the disability industry. So, with the help of a mentor of mine, we kind of connected the two, and I came to that. So I've been doing that ever since, and it's been a good journey so far. How long till you finish your degree? 18 months out now. So it's quite a long degree, given the master's degree you have to do at the end to do what I would like to do. But there's more behind me than ahead. So full steam ahead. I'm pretty keen to get into it. And Are you doing work experience at the moment, or? Not work experience, but as soon as I made that decision to commit to uni and accept the fact that it is for 4.5 years, and that I couldn't accelerate it, which has always been a bit of a negative side of me, is I like to push the envelope. I'm quite excessive, and I do enjoy pushing the boundaries, doing things fast, accelerated, because I do have the capacity to try and to maintain that. But I couldn't quite fathom the fact of me studying for 4.5 years or 4 years, whatever it may pan out to be, and not gain enough experience. So pretty much the minute that I committed to uni, got my timetable, I decided I wanted to go and work in a school, a disadvantaged school preferably, and work as a teacher's aide or a sports staff. So I last year, the first day of school, when everyone else is sucking it up and getting ready to go back to school, as we went through years and years ago, I drove out to Mount Druitt, to St Mary's, through all these areas that I didn't really associate with.
Yep.
Fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to kind of frame that. And I ended up at a school in like out the back of Mount Druitt, and I've been working there ever since in the support unit, and I love it. I love
Yep.
what I do, and it's taught me a lot. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to get a ton more experience, face-to-face practical learning by the end of my degree, as opposed to some who unfortunately may not have the opportunities that I've had.
Yeah. What's it like working at those schools, with those kids may not have the same upbringing as us, have more challenges in life? What's that like?
Similar to what I touched on before with the disability unit, I think it's very, very eye-opening.
Yeah.
It's also given me a lot in the sense of like having a bit more mental fortitude.
Yep.
I think I was quite, I don't want to say this, but soft, seeing some of the conditions these kids live with and have to put up with each and every day of their lives is something that I never had to face as a kid. As I said, I had quite a cushiony and sheltered upbringing, which I'm incredibly grateful for.
Yep.
But seeing the things that these kids do have to go through is quite eye-opening. But then it also gives me a platform then to help them. And you don't have to give money, and you don't have to do the things that people would assume you would to make an impact. And yeah, as I said before, they give me more than I give them, definitely.
Yep.
They fill my cup up, and I do love what I do, honestly.
So talk to me about COVID. How did that affect the whole schooling? Because, it all went online, didn't it?
By the end it did. It was quite a roller coaster, to be honest with you. It was very week to week. Some weeks we were hearing, yep, you're going to be at school 1 day a week. Then it was 2 days a week. Then it was no days a week. So it was a bit of a roller coaster there. But the end point was full-time online learning. So no one obviously in the school facility. So me and a fellow SLSO, I'll give him a shout out, Zach Ryan. He's a good lad, and I'm sure he'll be listening. We decided to launch a kids fit program for the kids.
Yep.
Because the kids at our school, they love their sport. And that's where me and Zach really can come to our own and really get a hold of these kids and have an impact and teach them social skills and just little things that we can kind of give them that we've learnt along the years. We launched a kids fit program, so we were placing in their Google Classroom slides the work that their teacher was giving them, our little kids fit program, which was always included food information on nutrition, a little daily workout, a video and a message of me or Zach. And that was just our way of keeping close with them, because after 2 years you do build quite a rapport with kids, with anyone really, but kids especially, you're quite connected to them. We're able to maintain a bit of an olive branch to them, so they still knew that Mr. Zach, Mr. Joel, and our teachers still care. We still get to see them online.
Yeah.
So we were doing that, and then my school gave us a great opportunity of doing a lot of self-development work. So online, I completed a billion different courses and learned a lot that I really enjoy, because that's a big aspect of my life on the side that's ongoing for me, and I really, really enjoyed that. So I did that for a long period of time, but then this term came back and it was full steam ahead, full time, and the kids have been running us off our feet ever since.
How did it go with online, especially because not all kids have access to the internet and that? How did they handle that?
Yeah, you're right, and that was a massive hurdle in the beginning. So our school luckily has the equipment and the resources to actually hire out laptops. So we did do that, and that was a big part of our role, was matching laptop to family, because most of the kids in our school are within a bigger family. So there might be you and I in year 6, but then we might have 3 brothers and sisters throughout. So you had to make sure that you matched up a laptop with a family rather than a student. So then 1, it was equitable, and 2, that everyone had equal opportunity. The kids that didn't harness that resource, that was quite difficult to take, because you would try and get in contact with them. The office ladies and the principals and my PA, they were really on the ball trying to ring and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you can only do so much. So for those kids, unfortunately, they may have fallen behind a little bit. But I know that especially at our school, the teachers have really shone a light on those kids, and towards the back end, the last 2-3 weeks of school, I saw just huge improvements from these kids that, were behind the 8 ball when they came back because of the situation and their inability to access the content. but the teachers came in with a real fire in their belly to come back and have a crack and bring these kids up to speed. So that was kind of that.
I feel sorry for some parents. I remember going to a customer's house and she had 7 kids that she had to homeschool.
Wow, 7.
Yep.
Cheaper by the dozen. That's incredible. And I think that's one of the things where the parents really had to stand up and take on the role of the face-to-face teaching. So I think from multiple perspectives, that one gives a lot of acknowledgement to the teacher's job, because now parents can understand how hard it actually is to teach 20 plus kids as opposed to 2, 3, 4 or the 7 that you saw. And on the other angle, it also gave a lot more ownership, control, and to the parents to build with their kids, so to know, okay, my child isn't quite up to date with her numeracy, so I'll build her with that. Or she isn't quite good with her literacy, I can build her with that, because they actually get to see and interact where their student is on that spectrum of intelligence, essentially.
So have you had your struggles with mental health?
Definitely, yeah.
You want to touch on that a bit?
Yeah, I think it's been again one of those roller coaster kind of aspects of my life where I didn't even flinch at the word when I would hear it in the crossfire of conversation or online. I was always kind of aware of it, and if someone needed help, then of course I would put my hand out. But it didn't really kind of come in bad in my life up until about 18 months ago, where I think a few decisions and situations I put myself in really caught up to me. So
what situations would you say?
I think for a long time there, went through a bit of like an identity kind of crisis. Put a lot of pressure on myself to be someone I thought I had to be.
Would that be around, not making the AFL?
Potentially, yes. Yep. I think that was a way of me compensating for the not fulfilling that dream, and I perceived that as a letdown from my family.
Yeah.
So for a long time there, I was making decisions and acting in accordance to my environment. So, for example, I would try and work as much as I possibly could to make sure my family, my girlfriend's family thought like were proud of me. Whereas like at the end of the day, they don't actually care if I work 0 hours or 60 hours.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like I wore a crazy schedule, like a badge of honor. And then by the time that all kind of fizzled out, I was burnt out mentally, physically, and emotionally. And to that point in my life, I'd never actually even took time to even kind of take stock of where I'm at mentally or emotionally. It's always just been physically and then financially, really, that I've only ever looked after. So that caught up to me pretty quick.
How bad did it get?
It's a long spectrum. The mental health spectrum is a huge thing, and you got to try and steer away from mental health. More mental illness is where it gets kind of sticky. Again, I'm pretty grateful and aware of that things were way worse in other people's lives, and I'm always aware of what else is going on in the world. But I suffered from anxiety pretty bad, and had a fair bit of head noise.
Yep.
And that caused me to just shut down and isolate as a social person. And then as a result, I was a very poor communicator. And then as a result of that, made very bad decisions when the light wasn't shone on me.
Would you say you hit rock bottom, or?
I guess you don't really know what rock bottom is until you get there. Yeah. But I don't think I was at rock bottom. But the trajectory was I was heading there, to be honest with you. And I was luckily able to, with the help of my support network, get myself out of that hole. And by no means am I perfect or fixed or cured today, because I don't think there is a cure. But I'm definitely on upward trajectory now, and I'm very, very content and happy with where I am mentally, physically, and emotionally.
How did you get yourself out of that little rut?
It was a combination of things. It was 1, opening up for the first time. It was 2, having a reinforcing support network. And what I mean by that was my family and my partner at the time really, for lack of a better word, pushed me into addressing the issue, because I didn't want to, because it was uncomfortable for me. And coming from the guy that loved to get uncomfortable every single day, training multiple times a day, working multiple jobs, doing these ridiculous kind of things, when it came to addressing a mental issue or a self-conscious thing that I was carrying, I didn't want to address it. So I had a few, again, it took multiple aspects and multiple people to come together to get me out of the rut. At the end of the day, though, it all comes down to the individual. Yep. You can't, no one can do the walking for you. So I had to really want to do it. So first I put myself out there. I spoke about it. I became a student in another aspect of life. I had to learn that, unfortunately, I wasn't healthy in that aspect. I didn't have healthy relationships, and I didn't have a healthy relationship with alcohol and things like that. And I was using those things as a form of escapism. So it was a long road, and it still is, but definitely addressing the issue, and having the support is the biggest backbone to the reason I got out of that rut.
How did it feel opening up for the first time?
Very confronting.
Yep.
Very, very confronting. I know there isn't, but you do feel judged, and that's just human nature.
Yep.
Because we see someone in the freezing cold walk in thongs, we immediately judge them going, you must be crazy. Like, you must have something wrong with you because it's freezing cold. That's just embedded in us. So I felt pretty judged. And the first few times I spoke, I didn't feel anything. I had this kind of presumption that I would walk away from the conversation or the table with a huge weight off my shoulders, but that didn't come until probably 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 conversations where you start to peel back layer and layer of issues and concerns that you have. So it took a while, but eventually it was a massive weight off my shoulders, and I could really walk around with my chest out once again, which was a big thing for me.
So talk to me about personal development. Do you read? What else do you do?
I do a lot of reading, mate.
Yeah.
I've said this before on a few other podcasts. I'm a bit of a bookworm, hey, and it's quite surprised me because I've never been one to read. I think reading is on so many levels, it does so much for you. Yep. For some, it's an escape or a debrief at the end of the day. For some, it's education. For some, it's just a bit of leisure. Like, you can read so many different things on so many different topics, and it's universal. Whatever is printed on the page, someone can take from that something, and then another person can take from that from something else. So it's applicable to everyone. For me, it's about the self-development. Like, I love to learn, and also it's just a way to debrief at the end of the day. Like, I don't like to sit down and rest. So when I'm reading, it's quite impossible to do stuff and read because I like to be present in that moment. So I sit down, get the book out every night at a given time when I know I have the time to commit to it. And I just, chew through the pages. And I've just finished Ross Edgley's most recent book, The Art of Resilience, kind of my buzzword at the moment. And that was a great read. And I'm moving on to one of your recommendations, David Goggins, next. Yep. And then I'll tee up Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got a long list to go. But every month, try and chew through one a month is kind of my goal or objective. Yeah,
I do a lot of reading. I slacked off the last few months, but before that I was reading a book every 2 weeks or so.
Wow, okay. You're a real page turner.
Yeah, I was smashing it out. What would you say is your top 3 books that you've read?
Okay, so Atomic Habits, I think definitely Ross Edgley's most recent book, and then Essentialism. They're probably my top 3 that I would recommend to anyone. And then also 12 Rules for Life probably slots in at number 4 there by Jordan Peterson.
Is that a good book?
Great read. Yep. Great read. It's quite dense and quite an intellectually challenging read. But if you're like able to sit there and work with some big words and articulate them, and then it's fine. It's a very practical book, kind of like Atomic Habits, where it's a step-by-step process that you, if you choose, to apply to yourself in your life. So that's why I really liked it, because it was a practical read. I wasn't reading about fairies or Star Wars, or it was something that I could extract from the book, apply to my life, and then see the results or the changes or the outcomes that it predicts. Yeah, that's why I really liked Atomic Habits, man. You could just put it all into place straight away. I smashed that book out so quick. That was a bit of a sprint one for me as well. I think great book, and I'm trying to been touching base with James Clear on Instagram a bit, trying to like see when his next book's coming out, because he's a great author, and I think he's got some big things that he can do and say for the world, and he does it through social media very well. Yeah. What other personal development do you do? Podcasts? Podcasting's a big one. I haven't listened to the radio in I think about 3 years, hey? Yeah. And it all started with a David Goggins podcast. Yep. And then, so I do a lot of those, and I've been on a few, and I'll continue to do that until, whatever happens. I like to, do a bit of just like, I think for me, university is a bit of self-development in the sense that it teaches me to reinforce my discipline, stay consistent, and just work hard. So that in itself is an art of self-discipline and a part of self-development. So I kind of do a fair few things there. And as I like to be a jack of all trades. So dabbling in everything and taking with it what I can.
Top 3 podcasts you listen to? Do you listen to Gary Vee?
I do listen to Gary Vee.
Yeah.
I think that he's great. He's kind of a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's the man, and we all know that. But I think like once you get the message, you don't need to keep going back to him. It's like kind of like the stray cat. You feed him once, you keep going back. But I try not to fall down that rabbit hole. I really like Building Better Humans. It's a project podcast by Glenn Azar. That's a great one. I like, there's one, Chasing Excellence. That's more of a fitness CrossFit style podcast. And then Justin Sewer's Increasing Impact.
Okay.
They're my top 3 there, and you can tell by the titles that they are revolving around self-development, personal betterment, and just working on yourself. So they're probably my top 3.
Have you heard of a guy called Kern Ray?
Yes.
Yeah, I follow him. You should listen to his podcast. Yeah, he's awesome.
I'll note that one down for sure.
Yeah. So do you journal or anything?
I do, mate. As you would have seen when I walk in, it's kind of like my version of a woman's handbag. I carry it everywhere with me. My journal is and pretty much now my girlfriend. It's just in my back pocket, and every single day I kind of jump in on that and try and reflect on the day that's been and where I'm at, where I'm going, how my day was. Did I get everything done? Did I meet the targets? And it allows me to be organised, prepared, and then self-aware. Well, what about yourself? Do you do any journaling or any diarising?
For a few months there, I was at the end of the night just writing, what my day was like, ups and downs and that. And then, kind of lost track and just stopped. But it's something I should probably get back into. Like I was writing what I'm grateful for, my goals for the day.
I think it's incredibly valuable. I mean, not everyone has to write. There's so many other ways to keep tabs on yourself. But I think having introspection on what's going on in your life, emotionally, mentally, physically, every different aspect of living, it can do so much for you and just keep you on track and keep you organised, keep you prepared, but also keep you humble in a way. You know what I mean? You can't get too caught up in things. If you're physically, like I do, writing them down, you can't really manipulate that. If I wrote down today to take 10,000 steps and I didn't get it done, I can't tick that off, and it's there looking at me in the face. It's like, well, you didn't. There was A to do and you didn't do it. So I think in that sense as well, it keeps you very accountable, which is why I do it personally.
Yeah. So I write this weekly checklist of goals I want to achieve for the week. So like podcast goals, work goals, personal goals. And I leave that for the week and try to tick them off. But sometimes I find I set too many goals for myself and I stress myself out because I'm trying to achieve so much.
I think we've all done that, mate. And I think at least you're doing the first part right, which is having a goal, having a why, and having some foresight into your week, and you don't just wander around aimlessly, kind of going with the flow, rolling with the punches. I mean, that works for some people, and I mean, good on you. I couldn't do it. I take my hat off to you. I need very clear cut direction, and I need to be prepared. But I think once you get a real a grasp on things, you understand that you set the bar not at your highest peak, but somewhere in the middle there that you can get over it each week, but it's still a challenge to get over. Yeah,
I just like to set high standards and stress myself out. But
of course, mate, you're running at a high frequency, so it's good that you are holding yourself to a standard though, and not the bar isn't too low.
So how do you balance everything? So what else do you do? CrossFit, and then are you a trainer as well?
So I'm a coach at a gym. I do that as well. I've done that for a while. As I said, I like to dabble in a few things. For me now, I really like that term, jack of all trades. For a long while there, I was trying to be great at one thing, and I just obviously for some reason or another I couldn't get there. So now it's just about being well-rounded in everything and enjoying it. That's a big part for me now that I've only recently kind of come to. I was very over-competitive with myself and competitive in the environment, so it was making not people uncomfortable, but they're just like, "Boy, this bloke's going crazy. Like, why is he getting angry at himself for not lifting that bar or getting that movement done or whatever it may be?" So I do a few things. As I said, I think for everyone, life is a juggling act. That's probably the most obvious metaphor I've ever seen. It's just your ability to cater to what your needs. So you got to figure out what's like the bare basics. I need to eat, sleep, work, save money. And for some people like me, that's training. I think like kind of dialing it back to what we just touched on about the journal, that helps me kind of keep on track with everything.
Yep.
And I mean, yeah, it's just the juggling act, mate. Some days you drop a ball, but not being too harsh on yourself now, and also allowing yourself the time to prepare for things. So, I mean, I know people that do a lot more than me.
Yeah.
Like I do a few things, but there's people that, they run on a really high frequency and they're able to do that through being prepared, being organized, having that real self-awareness of what they can do. And that's what I kind of use now as my backbone. I know what I can get done now. But unfortunately, you don't know those things until you get burned. So you realize, I probably can't work 46 hours a week, study for 20, train for 24. And you got to kind of refine and just kind of roll with the punches, which is something I'm not always comfortable with, but it's the way it is. Like, you've made your bed, you got to lie in it, and then refine, change, improve, and better the next day.
So talk to me about your training. How often do you train, and is it just CrossFit or?
For a while it was CrossFit, just CrossFit, but now, as I said, I'm kind of moving into this, I don't know, my own kind of concept of jack of all trades.
Yep.
I'm really into my running. I've always been.
Yeah, I just started getting into running a lot.
It's good, isn't it? There's a bit of magic in it. I've gotten into that. COVID kind of created that opportunity for me.
Yep.
I wanted to like increase my conditioning and increase my aerobic capacity, and I've always enjoyed running. So I thought, why not? Started just doing these pretty ridiculous runs and getting through them, and I've continued that on now. So I have a coach who coaches me twice a week for my track training.
Yep.
And then I do CrossFit up in the mountains near my place 3 times a week, sometimes 4. And then I just go to a normal gym and do I just call it the Joel time. So it's just like my own little extras, my accessories.
Biceps, triceps.
Party pump, push-ups, toes to bar, the good stuff. But that's kind of where I'm at with my training thing. What about yourself?
Yeah, so COVID kind of fucked it because I was playing footy, did whole preseason, played the first round and then got cancelled. I went on a kind of downward spiral for about 2 months where I did nothing. I just focused on the podcast and all that. Now I'm just getting back into it, going to the gym, just got into running. So my mate also does running. I've always, had the thought to do a marathon. So eventually I want to do a marathon, would be nice. And then just put on a bit of size for footy next year. That's
it. You sound like you're pretty similar to me in that sense. You're looking for that just kind of well-rounded, for me, it's like just being generally physically prepared, like GPB, like being able to, being competent at everything. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'd like to be highly competent and great at everything, but you just can't. There's only a small proportion of people that can do that. And but if you can just dabble in a few things, be quite competitive with yourself, but enjoy it, then there's no reason why you have to specify. You know what I mean? Variety for me is what keeps me coming back for more.
Do you have any fitness goals like marathon or anything like that?
Definitely a marathon. I've got one booked at the end of the year. Obviously, that's still up in the air with the COVID and quarantine kind of pandemic that we're going through. I'd like to tick that off. I've done a fair few big runs.
What marathon are you going to do?
It was it's in Newcastle. It's in Hunter Valley. So it's a crossover there because they've they haven't cancelled yet. So fingers crossed I can get that one done. I always like to compete in CrossFit. Like that's just like your local competitions. I mean, wherever that takes me, wherever it takes me. I've still got a lot of work to do in that.
CrossFit's a crazy sport, man. I've watched those Netflix documentaries.
Oh man, I think I've watched them all about 10 times. Yeah. They're incredible athletes. Other than Ross Edgley, I do think the CrossFitters they're the top echelon of athlete in the world because they are so well-rounded. Obviously, they're great at CrossFit, but CrossFit isn't a singular thing. It's not a lift. It's being well-rounded at everything and not the greatest, but good at everything. And that's why I think that they are the greatest athlete because they can do everything to a sound or quite high standard. And compete in my running, hopefully keep improving that and just be happy and satisfied with my effort and the way I feel.
How important is health and fitness to your mental health?
Oh, imperative. It's hand in hand once you kind of get a taste for it and you see the positive repercussions of it. Like for example, we have new clients at the gym that will sign up and they haven't they're in their mid-30s. They haven't never been to the gym before.
Yep.
Which that's fine. That's totally fine. Everyone runs their own race. They come to the gym very, very scared and anxious and standoffish to grabbing a barbell or doing a movement. Then once they're coached properly, helped out, supported, they're the ones that are coming 6 days a week. They've got a smile on their face, and it's incredible.
Yep.
I underestimated it for a while because it was always, for me, I just looked at it from a competitive lens.
Yep.
I wanted to be the best, the coolest, the strongest, the fittest, the fastest. So I never had a great relationship with it. I was only doing it for external validation. But now I see that enjoying it is the greatest fulfillment, I think, in fitness. So, and I think health and fitness is a very broad term. So I don't want people to listen and think like he's talking about CrossFit or he's talking about running. You can be anything.
Just
like
going for a walk.
I do a walk. Yeah, I do a walk 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Nice 5Ks with a podcast in, and that's a staple, and that's going to be a staple in my life.
Yeah, I walk every morning. Yeah,
exactly right. That's health and fitness, you know what I mean? But making sure that you're looking after your physical fitness, your mental fitness, your emotional fitness. There is so much more there. The world we live in today is so advanced that we now understand that there's a broader spectrum to fitness and health. So I hope that people do understand the multiple aspects of health and fitness. It's not just CrossFit. It's not barbells. It's not burpees. There's so much more to it. And once you start dabbling in it and having a bit of fun and putting yourself out there, it can have absolutely amazing. It can be transformative to people's mental well-being. Now,
back on the coaching, what's the biggest lesson you've learned in regards to, coaching kids and then adults? Is it just patience kind of?
Yes, I was going to say, it's not too different. Kid to adult in terms of, it's not too different. Sometimes the kids are easier because they're sponges.
Yeah.
They don't have any other prior knowledge, or they don't really have their own opinion. So they're kind of like monkey see, monkey do.
Yep.
And I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I mean, they just watch what you do in aura, and they're like, okay, I want to try as hard as I can to do what he does.
Yeah.
Whereas you're coaching adults who, in my case, are generally older than me. They may have their own kind of pre-existing opinions of what they should and shouldn't be doing, or kind of presumptions of what their body can and can't do.
Yep.
So I think you've got to be a very approachable person to begin with if you're going to be a coach, because if you're in that position, you want people to be able to come to you and go, hey, I don't know how to do this, or hey, I'm struggling with this. Can we work on this? So approachable is always one thing that I've kind of hung my hat on. I think I'm kind of quite an outgoing guy, and I'm happy to have a chat with anyone, really. I'll talk your ear off if you want to, especially if it's about fitness, because I've got a lot to say. You've then got to be knowledgeable. So you've got to actually know what you're talking about. And then I think thirdly, practice what you preach. So making sure that you're involved in fitness in some sense, and you're able to walk the walk as well as talk the talk, which I know at CrossFit is a big thing. Like, I've trained with the coaches there, and I know that people love seeing that and love doing that. So I try and get in and amongst with my members, and I also try and use my social media to show them, to give them a bit of inspiration, to go like, oh, well, it was 5 a.m, freezing cold, but I got up and ran XYZ, or did this workout, or did this walk. Like, I can do it, and I see you guys every day. You should do it as well. Like, we'll do it together. That kind of inclusiveness is what really brings people together, I think, in gym spaces. And that's where you see now, especially in our area of like Western Sydney, is you see the difference between like a good gym, an average gym, and a really good gym, is that ability to bring people together.
Yeah, it's the environment.
And that where it stems from, and then getting people all to go in a common direction together.
Yeah. So when you do have spare time, what's your hobbies?
Oh, as I touched on with you before, I could cheer you off about sport.
Yeah.
Obviously, I love sport, so I watch a lot of basketball, a lot of footy. I've just gotten into Netflix. I'm a bit behind the 8 ball with that. So I've just started watching a few shows.
Yep.
I watch Ozark. I've
That's a
smashed
good
that,
show.
and Bloodline.
Yep.
So I don't overcommit though. I don't have much time because I've got to be. I'm a grandpa. I go to bed at like 8:30. So I get one show in a night, and that's where I just sit there with like my massage gun, and I'll just like kind of zone out. I love hanging out with my mates, and that's been a big part of the last 3 or 4 months in my life. It's just been reconnecting with family and my mates. So just doing whatever. Hey, like obviously fitness is quite prominent in what we do when we hang out, but I'm no stranger to having a beer, having a laugh, sitting at the pub, eating whatever, just doing whatever we want. To be honest, whatever I need to do, I feel I need to do. I live very intuitively right now. Like I just go with my feeling. My body's sore, I won't train. If I feel like a pizza, I'll eat a pizza. But I just know it's all about balance, and then being able to like back up what you do. If you're gonna go and eat that or do that or act that way, you need to be able to do the right things the next day to get yourself back on track, because we see all the time that compounding effect can have such significant repercussions on an individual, like whether it be by going and having a beer with your friend when you know you shouldn't be drinking, and that turns into 2 days of drinking and 3 days of drinking, and it turns into a bad decision from someone eating, I don't know, a box of pizza shapes, but then that turns into dinner, and that turns into breakfast next day. So you've got to have that real, as I touched on before, that self-awareness to be present in what you're doing, enjoy it for what it is, but then know that when that next meal, that next day, that next hour rolls around, you got to pull yourself back in, have that self-discipline that I didn't have, and get yourself back in check. And I think that's the key to living a pretty fulfilled life, because you get that balance. You're going to get the hard stuff, you're going to get the good stuff, you're going to get the fun stuff, and unfortunately sometimes you get the sad stuff. Yeah,
balance is very important, and if you go too hard in one direction, you're going to burn out and not really be happy in life, aren't you?
Exactly right. As I said, it's a juggling act, man. I mean, and I've never seen anyone really juggle on their toes. You need to be on 2 feet, balanced, to be able to concentrate and live attentive. You need to be attentive. You need to be able to be present in what you're doing every single day, know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and then generally you don't have too many hiccups.
So we touched on your mental health experience before. Would you say that was your biggest struggle in life thus far?
Yeah, I think so. As I said, I'm very, very fortunate for the upbringing, the family I have around me, the friends I have, the people I've kind of brought into my life. I've never really had too many issues. There's always other things that go on, like your family stuff and your stresses at work, your stresses at uni. But I definitely think mental health for me was the biggest hurdle in my race.
Why do you think, I guess, so many people have mental health issues? Like when we were younger, or our parents were younger, it wasn't really heard of, and now it's everywhere.
I think because now it's more normalized.
Do you think social media has something to do with that as well?
Definitely. I think we live in a world that's technologically driven. You know what I mean? You can't tell me that you don't check your phone at least once every 10 minutes and you want to see what everyone else is doing. I definitely think that has a huge part, but I do just believe that the world is just, it's evolving. And I mean, you can diagnose almost anything now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you could say there's like a stand-up disease for people that stand up all the time, you know what I mean? So we are just more self-aware now than ever. And because of that, there's been light shone on those issues and these concerns of mental health that probably in the past were definitely prevalent. They were probably around, but they didn't have the weight. It was kind of just the thing that you got on with, or unfortunately you were crippled by. But now we're very, very lucky today that it's a delicate topic that is gradually being normalized. And because of that, people are getting themselves out of the ruts.
Yep. So what's your why?
In terms of what?
Like, exactly, like what you do in life, you know, what's your drive? Make
an impact.
Yep.
Definitely. Whatever room I'm in, I want to make the room a better place, or I want to impact someone else's life in a positive manner. That's it for me. It's aim for the highest good each and every day. So, and I haven't been that way all the time. I was selfish and made wrong decisions, and I've touched on that before, but in the last 18 months, I've definitely turned a new leaf, and every single day it's about being better than yesterday, making an impact and just being happy. That's my why. It's kind of a 3-pronged attack there, but that sums it up for me.
You know, who's your inspiration? Who do you look up to?
Honestly, it's pretty close to my heart. It's my grandfather and my mum. I mean, obviously we've all got our man crushes and our Instagram go-tos, and but for me, family's everything. It's cross my body in ink. I draw inspiration from them. I've seen them walk the tightrope and get through the other side, and they've really role modeled how to live a good, impactful life, no better than like they have. So I'd always just draw inspiration from them, to be honest with you.
Where do you see yourself in the next few years?
In the next few years, like ideally the degree to be wrapped up, that'd be nice. Obviously cementing myself in a school where I am making an impact and enjoying what I do. Definitely still present in the fitness kind of scene, whether that be here or elsewhere. And I would like to move away. I think Newcastle's calling my name. That's my sport. Yeah.
Why is that?
It's just it's got that perfect kind of balance between the kind of chaoticness of Sydney, and then they've got that what's the word? Just the calmness of that coasty life.
Yeah.
And I think people there walk a bit slower. They're a bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
And I've got family there, and I want to be close to them as often as I can. And I can't always drive 3 hours up the highway. So I think, Newcastle's calling my name, hopefully. But, I'm open to anything.
Yep.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Have you set, massive goals, like 10-year goals or anything? Or
I did in my previous journal before I wrote that off. There was scribbles and goals and sayings and mantras, and you overcomplicate things. I think definitely I have a rough idea now of where I want to be in 10 years, but I think I don't want to specify too much on a definitive goal or objective, because then what happens when I get there? You know what I mean? Am I going to be satisfied? Am I not going to be satisfied? What if I don't reach it? So I just know I kind of base it on those bare principles. It's being happy, being around my family, and doing what I love. And I've found a framework that works for me right now to keep me there and keep me on track to maximize my potential, because I know now I've kind of realized in the last 6 months that I do have potential to do some big things, and I want to do big things. So to kind of go back, long story short, I don't have a definitive 10-year plan, but I definitely have foresight into the next 10 years. I know how to keep going forward, per se.
Last two questions. When your time's up on this earth, what would you like to be remembered for?
Whew. That's a hard one. I mean, geez, put me on the spot here. What am I going to be remembered for when I'm done? When I'm all said and done, just someone that, pardon me, but someone who gave a shit.
Yeah.
Someone who said, did what they said and set out what they set out to do and got it done, and gave a shit. I just want to have an impact. I want to be happy. I want to have an authentic representation of me when I'm done. I want people to know know that I was who I was. I wore that as a badge of honor, and any mistakes I've ever made that I corrected, and that I was just the person that people could come to, I guess.
Lastly, what's your definition of success?
Ooh, another one. Double whammy. That's a real rib shot. I wasn't ready for that one. My definition of success, I think that's an internal, personal thing, to be honest with you. I think each and every person can give their own spiel, but for me, it's about being internally fulfilled, and then externally making an impact. That would be my definition of success.
Sweet. And quickly, where can people find you on social media?
Oh, yeah, so I just Joel Walsh _ on Instagram, and Joel Walsh on Facebook. That's pretty much it. I don't double too much on those, but they're my two kind of plugs.
Sweet. Well, thank you for coming on. Give me your time, man, and really appreciate it.
Honestly, man, I appreciate it. I love what you're doing here, and doing great things. I can't wait to see what you do from the sidelines, mate. Good on you.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one.
Cheers.